This is Asia Now.
It's 5 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 2:30 in New Delhi and 4 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Ateli Edwards. At this hour, chaos at the heart of the U.S. government in Washington, D.C., leaving 4 people dead. A state of emergency has been extended for 15 days, and the city has been put on maximum alert, with security out in force. World leaders and citizens alike express shock and concern over the mayhem that's descended the American seat of power. In news, Justin, the U.S. Congress has officially certified Joe Biden as winner of November's presidential election, and the joint session has dissolved just a couple of minutes ago. All this hours after chaos and mayhem have swept Washington, D.C. as pro-Trump supporters stormed the Capitol building. 4 people have died during clashes with security forces, 3 from medical complications, another from a gunshot wound. A state of emergency has been extended for 15 days. Let's take a look at how it all unfolded.
USA! USA! USA!
This was the moment protesters breached police lines and forced their way onto Capitol Hill. They broke windows, rampaged through offices, and stormed onto the floor of the Senate and the House of Representatives. At the time, the Congress was meeting to certify Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. Rioters grappled with police. Their aim was to disrupt the confirmation of President Donald Trump's defeat. In the shocking scenes of chaos and mayhem, officers could be seen drawing their guns. As violence escalated, 1 woman was shot. She was later pronounced dead. Witnesses say the woman defied police calls to get out of the way before an officer opened fire. During the standoff, at least 1 Trump supporter entered the Senate chamber. Others tried to break down the House door. Police officers stood guard with guns drawn. Officers locked down the building and fired tear gas to try to bring the situation under control.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda, and we're being instructed to each of us get gas masks that are under our seats.
Police struggled for more than 3 hours after the invasion to clear out the protesters. The White House then deployed the National Guard. President Trump urging his supporters to go home, but still insisting the election was stolen.
This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
Police have arrested more than 50 people in what's considered the most damaging attack on the heart of American democracy since the 1800s.
Well, Jagruti Dave explains whether the unrest in the Capitol is expected to continue.
We have seen the entire National Guard of Washington, D.C. being deployed to handle these protests. And we've seen the National Guard from the neighboring states, state of Virginia, being brought in as well as other states to support local law enforcement. So clearly local authorities are taking this incredibly seriously after the really shocking and unprecedented nature of what happened yesterday. I think it's hard to impress upon people just how shocking this is, because this is not something that is expected to happen in America. I think for a lot of people, they are really stunned. But of course, people like Barack Obama, the former president, and many others have been saying this was not unexpected. They are saying that President Trump's comments, his behavior, has effectively incited people to this kind of action. So yes, it's a city that is braced, I think, for the possibility of further unrest.
Well, world leaders have been reacting to the horrifying scenes in Washington. The Japanese government says it hopes the U.S. will overcome the turmoil caused by angry supporters of President Donald Trump and that there would be a smooth transition of power.
米国の連邦議会への侵入、そして議事妨害が生じたことを私どもも懸念を持って注視をしているところであります。
Thailand's foreign ministry spokesperson tweeted to say he expects law and order to prevail and that the democratic transfer of power will proceed as expected. He said Thais stand with Americans in these unprecedented times. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed shock, saying orderly and peaceful transfer of power must continue. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison called the violence in the US capital terribly distressing.
It's heartbreaking to see what's happening there. This is one of the world's greatest democracies, and it remains so because of its forbearance and its persistence and the principles and values upon which the nation was established, and I have no doubt that that will prevail.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the Canadians are deeply disturbed by the attack on democracy and that democracy in the US must be upheld. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has described the scenes as disgraceful, adding that a peaceful and orderly transition of power is needed. Meanwhile, the country's Interior Minister Priti Patel has blamed the incident on Mr. Trump. He says that his comments disputing his loss of the presidential election have led to the violence. Well, meantime, a German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas has also urged voters to accept Trump's defeat, while European Parliament President David Sassoli said that the incident was deeply concerning. French President Emmanuel Macron says he has faith in the US and in the power of democracy.
I just wanted to express our friendship and our faith in the United States. What happened today in Washington, D.C. is not America, definitely. We believe in the strength of our democracies. We believe in the strength of American democracy.
3 former U.S. presidents have expressed contempt for Donald Trump for inciting the chaos on Capitol Hill. In strongly worded statements, they stressed the need for a peaceful transfer of power. Former Democratic President Barack Obama called the attack on Congress a moment of great dishonor and shame for America, adding that the chaos was incited by the outgoing leader, who has continued to baselessly lie about the outcome of a lawful election. Former Republican President George W. Bush called the chaos an insurrection, saying something like this only happens in a banana republic. He expressed shock at the reckless behavior and lack of respect shown towards the American Constitution and law enforcement. Meanwhile, former Democratic President Bill Clinton called the riot an unprecedented assault on the U.S. Capitol and the nation. He too blamed President Trump for stirring up the violence, adding that the attack was fueled by 4 years of poison politics and deliberate misinformation. While the public is also reacting to the incident on Capitol Hill, Beijing residents have called the violence irrational.
感觉有点扯，就是很不理智，就是用那种暴动去达到自己的目的，那最后结果肯定也是属于以乱治乱，属于最后肯定会结果会更糟糕吧。
疫情这么严重，然后也是控制不住了，因为每个人这心里肯定是多多少少也不像咱们中国这么安全，对吧？然后国外，特朗普有点太自以为是了吧，就是特别自私一个人。
Waking up to the reports, people in Australia also expressed shock and concern. Some, though, say they saw it coming.
Shooting people physically, I think that's that's quite disturbing. I think that's quite disgusting.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit shocking when I woke up this morning and saw all the news coming through. It's not a huge surprise, though, just because of how high the tensions have been recently.
Well, an expert we spoke to says Trump has a big part to play in causing the unrest.
Well, he's certainly the major piece of the puzzle. It was preceded by months and months of President Trump questioning the result and encouraging his supporters to disregard the rulings of a large set of the judiciary, and to believe him that there was that the election that duly elected former Vice President Biden was fraudulent. And right before the incident, he was encouraging his supporters to march on the Capitol building, and he said to be tough and to be strong. And they stormed the Capitol building. So I would say the culpability lies with him.